Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Definition, and with 1917 now making its way worldwide, I thought it was time to talk about what is one of my favourite movies of the year. 1917 doesn't need an ending explained. The events of the movie are pretty straightforward. The finale won't leave you asking any questions, and everything ties up in a way that services the entire story. However, that doesn't mean that the ending isn't worth talking about, and this film finalises on a beautifully somber moment that has stuck with me long after seeing the movie. Throughout this video, we're going to be breaking down the journey that the characters in the film go on, as well as the real life events that inspired them. There will be heavy spoilers here, so if you haven't had a chance to see 1917 yet and don't want to know what happens, then I highly suggest that you turn off now. With that out of the way, I just want to give a huge thank you for clicking this video. Now let's get into why the ending of 1917 is so perfect.
The whole thing's coming down! Come on! Can't see! I can't see! Trust me!
1917 is filmed as one continuous shot. The camera doesn't cut away at any point. There's no mid-scene changes, no diverting from what's happening on screen, and because of this, the film feels relentless. Shooting an entire movie in this style is an extremely difficult task, but director Sam Mendes purposely put this in place as it's necessary for the film's overall message. There are no real breaks in war, no real moments of respite, no moments to mourn or take in what's really going on and what you've sacrificed in order to fight for Queen and country. One moment you'll be clasping at your best friend as they pass away, and the next you'll be sat listening to a song sung by a soldier. You really don't have a chance to take it in or truly comprehend exactly what's happening. Every single second could be your last, no matter whether you know it or not, and because of this, it helps the audience to not only engage with the journey early on, but also to be invested in it as it takes its course throughout the almost 2-hour runtime. We open on a shot of a field that is almost instantly juxtaposed by two soldiers. Perfectly, it sets up the dichotomy of the film, in which we will see our central characters go on a journey through hell, all while surrounded by the natural beauty of the world. These two characters are Corporals Schofield and Blake, both of whom have been given a task of the utmost importance. Under orders, they are to cross into former German territory to deliver a message to Colonel Mackenzie, a soldier that is currently chasing after the retreating German forces. This is a trap. The Germans are willingly withdrawing in order to lure the British army into a situation where they can be ambushed and wiped out. The two have been chosen because Blake's brother is in the British brigade about to be slaughtered, and they set off immediately. The movie itself is actually based on the true story of the director's grandfather, Alfred Mendes, who served in the British army during the war. Sam Mendes was told stories by his grandfather of what it was like to be in the conflict, and from this he put the movie together. I'm sure many of you at home watching this have heard similar tales growing up, and even today the First World War still looms massively over the United Kingdom. My own great-grandfather was a sergeant major during the war, and often my grandmother would recount to me tales of his bravery and also the horrors that he faced every day. Mendes' grandfather was awarded with a medal for bravery after he volunteered on a mission to locate injured soldiers in no man's land. George McKay, who stars as the film's main lead, also relates heavily to the movie, as his great-great-uncle, Albert Victor Bork, was also tasked with a similar mission to what we see play out. Bork was a signaller for the 196th Siege Battery in France, and he helped to relay important messages across land, as we see McKay's character do in the film. It's stories like this that grant the movie with a feeling of authenticity, and you can see the personal tales shape the facets of the movie, grounding them massively. As Blake and Schofield make their way across the landscape, there are a huge range of emotions portrayed in just a few minutes. One second they're gingerly approaching what may or may not be an abandoned outpost, the next they're laughing about life in the trenches, all before it climaxes in the death of Blake, who is murdered by a German pilot that crash lands close to them. Blake bleeds out, and Schofield promises him that he will write to his mother and say that he wasn't scared. Just like that, Schofield has watched his friend die in front of him. The worst thing that could happen has. But there's no chance to mourn his friend. No moment to sit and collect his thoughts. More soldiers arrive and tell him not to dwell on the loss of Blake, and thus all of this pain, all of this agony that Schofield is going through is brushed to the side and duty is put before death. It really exemplifies the stiff upper lip that Brits are stereotyped as having, and portrays how, when things are at their lowest, we often don't have time to even accept that they are the way that they are, and we must keep moving. Schofield himself isn't really even that happy that he's a soldier. He takes no joy in war, and even confesses to Blake that the prior medal he received he ended up exchanging for wine. He just doesn't want to remember any of this, but he's stuck in an impossible situation, doing the best that he can. There are dark humour moments, such as when he accidentally puts his hand in a corpse on the battlefield, and a real feeling of kinship, but ultimately every soldier in this war wants to get home, get away from it, and be back with the ones that they love. This is exemplified early on in the movie's introduction when Blake says he hopes to be home before Christmas, and it solidifies where the real sense of duty for these men is. They were fighting in order to protect the ones that they loved back home, fighting in these hellscapes so that the ones that they cared about didn't have to experience what they did. Schofield continues to make the journey himself, dodging gunfire, watching towns burn to the ground, and eventually he comes across a French woman named Laurie and her baby. Laurie tends to his wounds, but in retrospect, this setup is similar to the one that Schofield left behind. The film ends with the character looking at a photo of his wife and children, and seeing this firsthand really backs up the prior point that these men were fighting so that women and children wouldn't have to go through the horrors of war firsthand. Laurie begs him to stay, and he easily could. At one point he even looks like he will, but an ominous church bell rings and reminds him that he's against the clock. There are more important things out there. He breaks out, jumps into a river and flows upstream, finally breaking upon reaching the shore. Watching the character cry is agonizing, and it reminds you that throughout all of the film, we haven't really had a chance to even catch our breaths and take in exactly what has gone on. One-shot takes often leave you feeling like you don't have a moment to breathe, and seeing the character go through this is one of the most impactful moments of the film. Schofield arrives too late, and the battle begins with the first wave being sent out. The trenches are full, and thus, in order to stop the rest of the waves going forward, Schofield takes a shortcut by running sideways across the battlefield. It's an insane moment that is incredible to see play out on the big screen, and is one that I'm sure will stick in many people's memories after watching the movie. Finally, he reaches Colonel Mackenzie, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, who, after reading the letter, orders his men to stand down. Looking for Blake's brother, Schofield goes to the medical tent and comes face to face with him, played by Richard Madden. Schofield tells him of his sibling's fate and gives him some of his belongings that he took from him upon his death. Blake is naturally ripped apart by the news. It's a crushing blow to him, but as we discussed, there is no real time to mourn here, and he pulls himself together almost instantly. All of the men who fought in this war have been forever changed by the events that they saw, the journey that they went through, and though they may have made it through the war, the ending does not matter. This took away their humanity, but it doesn't mean that they have lost it forever. The film ends with Schofield and Blake shaking hands in what is the World War I equivalent of an emotional hug. Schofield promises to write Blake's mother, and he goes to sit under a tree, similar to how we first met him in the opening. However, this time he is without Blake. He is a man who has had a friend torn away from him because of the journey that we've seen him go through. He pulls out a photo of his wife and children and looks at them, reminding himself of what he has waiting for him when he gets home. The hope that if he makes it out of the war, he may get to see them again. Every day he is fighting to make it just one more. He will likely go through more journeys similar to this, face death every day, but one day it will end and he will be reunited with the family that he's fighting to protect. Every moment that he's gone through, every agonizing footstep that he's taken forward has been in order to get to this one solitary second in which he can remind himself of his family. He turns over a photo that says, "Come back to us," and closes his eyes, which ends the film. It really is the perfect way to close the movie off, reminding us that no matter what we go through, there's always the hope that things can get better, and that somewhere out there is a day that will make it all worth it. 1917 is not only a technical masterpiece, but a masterpiece of storytelling as well. The film is an incredible feat that has its heart in the right place, and though I went into the movie expecting it just to be another by-the-numbers war story, it told me far more about the human condition, brotherhood, death, family, and how, through it all, we must keep moving even when we are at our lowest. 1917 was incredible, and that's why it scores a 10 out of 10. Now obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on 1917 and if you agree with me or not. Comment below and let me know, and if you enjoyed this video then please give it a thumbs up, and make sure you check out our breakdown of last week's big release, The Grudge, which will be linked at the end. We go over the entire movie's timeline and how it ties in with the original, so it's definitely worth checking out if you want to know more. If you want to come chat to me after the video, then make sure you follow me on Twitter at DefinitionYT, or head over to my Discord server, which will be linked in the description below. We drop videos on there early, so if you want to see stuff before anyone else, then that's the best place to be. It's free to join and we have an awesome community, so hopefully we see you over there very soon. We're also giving away a free copy of Joker, which is one of our favourite movies of the last year, and all you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave your thoughts on 1917 in the comments section below. The winner is going to be chosen at random on the 15th of January and the set will be shipped out from then to whoever gets the prize, so best of luck to everyone who takes part. This is a channel for people who are mad into movies, so if that's the kind of thing you like, hit subscribe. Thanks again for taking the time to watch this. I've been Definition, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.